Okay, so opening up Komodo Edit, I'm going to choose File, New, File from Template, and I'm going to choose HTML5. Okay, so what we have here is our doc type declaration. This is actually declaring this as an HTML5 document. And right below that we have the HTML tag here, and that's going to, it's wrapping all the content, letting the browser know that everything within this opening and closing tag right here is going to be HTML. Next we have the head. Now the head, the information that goes into the head is largely not visible. It's just information about the document. However, the page title will be visible, not in the actual browser window, but just up here on the tab, just like you see right here. In fact, let's go ahead and test that out right now. I'm going to save this. Okay, and I'm going to save this as vintagebikes.html. Okay, and now that it's saved, I'm going to go ahead and preview this in Firefox. Okay, so there's nothing on the page yet. Okay, even though we do have some HTML elements here, nothing is visible. However, see how this says page title, and page title. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and change the title right now to the title of our document. And that's going to be, we'll call it Vintage Motorcycles. Okay, Vintage Motorcycles. And let's go ahead and save and then preview in Firefox. Okay, and see Vintage Motorcycles. There's our title right there. So that's the title to our web page. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to identify this HTML document as being in the English language. Okay, this is particularly useful for screen readers that actually need to know how to pronounce the words in your document. Anyway, so how you do that is you type in lang. Whoops, I gotta type it correctly there. Lang equals, and then quotation marks, okay? And then inside the quotation marks, you actually put EN, okay? And that's just identifying this as an English language document. Okay, and speaking of identifying the language, we're going to identify the character set that's going to be used as well. And we do that by typing in the meta tag, okay? So type in meta, and then charset, C-H-A-R-S-E-T equals, okay, quotation marks, and then we're going to type in UTF-8, okay? And that's letting the browser know what character set that to use with this document, okay? By default, it's probably going to use this one anyway. However, there are instances in which the browser will need to know, and so it's good to be descriptive up front, okay? So I'm going to identify the char set. Okay. Now, I'm going to go ahead and save that. Now, I'm going to preview it in the browser again. Okay. See how we don't see anything yet? The information that we put up here is just inside the head. Okay. Of course, we have our title. It cannot see this char set though. It's just information. All right, about how to render this document. So let's go ahead and throw something in here that we can see. Okay, so now leaving the document head, which is where the information about the website is, I'm going to go into the body. And the first thing that I'm going to do is set up heading 1, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and open and close the heading 1, okay? Now, anything that I put in here will be a level 1 heading, and that's a great spot to go ahead and put the title of the article, okay? And that's, again, going to be Vintage Motorcycles. Vintage Motorcycles. Okay, and I'm going to save that, and let's preview this in Firefox. Okay, there you go, and we can actually read it or see it. Okay, now if I was to change this to, say, heading 5, okay, now that it's at a level 5 heading, and preview it, see how it's smaller like that? Okay, you don't want to feel or get into the habit of thinking that H1, H2, H3 is how you make things different sizes. It's actually just how you divide and structure your content on a level of importance, okay? For example, I want this to be the title of the article, and so I want this to be a level 1 heading, Vintage Motorcycles. And then below that we'll have a level 2 heading that, you know, introducing American and British bikes. And then a level 3 heading will be, you know, a brief history of Harley Davidson motorcycles, and then a brief history of Triumph British motorcycles. So we'll have the title as an H1, and then as we move down in our content, using different level headings will not only help you divide up the content, but give you some structure as far as the importance of the content that you're displaying. For example, the title of the article, that's something really important that we want right up front. Okay, now the next thing that I'm going to do is throw in a paragraph, and we do that with the paragraph tag. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and close that. It's a really good habit to open and close your paragraphs or your elements, because it just helps keep things structured, and you know, once you start getting a lot of tags all over the place, opening and closing them just helps you stay organized as far as the content that you're providing. Now let's go ahead and grab some content. Okay, I'm gonna close these tabs. In my same folder here where my vintagebikes.html document is living, I have in my image folder with the the images that I'm going to use. I'm just going to use a couple of them, and then I have this just some content here that I've put together. A lot. Mostly this is just cut and paste off Wikipedia. And you're welcome to use any text that you want for this. A lot of people will just use lorem ipsum, which is Latin text that people throw in as filler, or song lyrics or whatever you want. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and grab this first paragraph here. This is our little introductory paragraph underneath the title of our article here, the H1 vintage motorcycles. I'm going to paste that in there. Now you see how it just stretched all the way across like that? Okay, it's pretty annoying that it does that by default. You just need to go to View Word Wrap and see how it's nice and snugged up now. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and save that. Instead of previewing it in Firefox, I'm going to preview it in Komodo's browser. Okay? And I'm going to check to remember this, so it's much faster to just keep previewing Komodo's browser, and we'll bounce back and forth between Firefox and Komodo's browser. So there we go. Okay, and again, just to give you an example, let's go ahead and preview that in Firefox. And there you go. So here's our first web page. Okay, we have a level 1 heading here with the title of our article, and then an introductory paragraph. Okay? All right. Let's move on now. So we have our first paragraph here. Then right below that, I'm going to go ahead and add a H2, a level 2 heading. And let's see what we're going to put there. We're going to put early American and British bikes. Okay. So let's go ahead and put that in and save. And there we go. And you can see the size difference here. Now again, the size here helps you structure and organize your content now, but when we target these elements in CSS, you can actually make an H2 look however you want, okay? And so that's why you don't really want to consider using these, level 1, level 2, level 3 headers to give you any style, but just to help you organize your content. When we are styling with CSS later, we'll be able to have complete control over how this is displayed. Okay, so let's see. It looks like we're probably going to have to throw another paragraph in now. And yep, right here. So I'm going to go ahead and select this paragraph, copy it, and put it inside of some paragraph tags. Okay? All right, like so. And I saved it, and there we go. We have another one. Okay, and then below that, a brief history of Harley Davidson. Okay, so I have a level 1 and a level 2 heading. I'm going to go ahead and make this one a level 3 heading. Whoops, where am I going here? Right here. Okay. H3. Okay, and paste and close that up. All right, and there we go. Brief history of Harley Davidson. Okay, and below that, let's have a paragraph about, I wanted to put this visit the Harley Davidson timeline just to demonstrate making a link, and we'll actually make it a link a little bit later. Right now we're just going to put it inside of a paragraph. Okay. And then we'll have another paragraph, and that is a short write-up about the history of Harley Davidson. Okay, and put that inside paragraph tags, like so. Okay, and let's go ahead and look at this in Firefox. Okay, so there we go. what should we do next? It looks like I have a history of some Harley-Davidson models. Okay, and that is actually going to be the title of the list, and I'm going to make that, I believe, whoops, keep going down there, an H4, okay, H4, and paste that in, and okay, and below that we're going to actually put a list. Okay, now a list, when I paste this in, it's going to look like it's actually, you know, going to be rendered as a list, okay? However, when I save and then preview this in Firefox, you see how it does not actually render it as a list, just as one long line? Now, if I jump right in the middle of my list and hit enter a bunch of times and create a whole bunch of white space here, save it, preview it in Firefox, you see how it made no difference? You actually have to define where your line breaks are and where your white space is, okay? When you create H1, H2 level headings or paragraphs, it automatically will give you one line of white space, okay? Right here, everything within this right here, though, it's right now just being rendered as a paragraph, even though it's not it's not wrapped in a p tag. By default, most browsers will actually just render text as a paragraph. So what we need to do is we need to give some instructions to actually render this as a list. And how we do that is we wrap it in an unordered list tag, okay? And like so. Okay, now if we are to view it right now, all it did was indent it right here. It's treating this like one item, okay? So what we have to do is we have to give instructions that, to our browser about which elements right here or which items are actually the list items, because it still doesn't care about white space or whether or not you've hit return. So you actually have to define each one of these. And how we do that is we put in a list tag like so, okay? And then close it by just putting an li in here. Okay, now if I save this, and we can just look down here, see how it added this bullet point? That's what it does to list items. Okay, and so now we have one list item, and then it's just running on everything else right here because it's not considering this a separate list item. So we need to do that to every one of these. So all I'm going to do is just copy this, okay, and then just paste it in front of each list item like so. Okay. And a couple more. Shovelhead, evolution. Alright, and now I need to add the closing tags. Oops. Alright, kind of tedious here. Not much to it though. And hit enter. Okay, and you can see down here, see how it has them all listed? And that's great. The only problem with doing this is this K-series right here, these two K-series engines right here are actually related to this one right here. And so what I wanted to do is actually indent these. And of course, if I just go like this, indent them, and save it, it does not do anything. Because again, you have to actually give instructions. HTML is not paying attention to any of the white space unless you give it instructions to. Okay? So how we do that is we actually embed another unordered list. And all I need to do is close this, which will then open this tag up again. And then I'm going to add another unordered list right here, okay? And then close that down here. All right, just like that, okay? And you see how I hit save and see what it did? Let's go ahead and look at it nice and big for a second. Okay, so, and notice that it kind of changed the way the bullet points look here, okay? So that's how you actually nest a list inside of another list. Speaking of bullet points, these are called unordered lists, and we set those up with the UL for unordered list. If I change this to an O, which would stand for ordered list, okay, you might be able to guess what's going to happen here. And I hit save. See how it added those numbers? Okay, and again, these ones right here, if I change those to ordered list, hit save. Okay, so there, it's actually listing them right, in numerical order right now. Okay, however, I actually want them to just be unordered lists. I just wanted to demonstrate that. Okay, so unordered list, unordered list, unordered list, and unordered list. Okay, and there we go. So now we have our first list, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and create a little bit of space right here to work. So the next thing that I want to do, let's look here. So we have our list, brief history of Triumph motorcycles, okay? And let's look at our brief history of Harley Davidson is an H3 heading. So we're going to do the same thing with Triumph motorcycles, is put in an H3, like so. Okay. Okay, and then below that, we're going to add another paragraph here. Okay, like so. Oops. And close that paragraph up. Okay, and then below that, again, history of some Triumph models. Okay. And what are we going to wrap that in? Let's see, history, an H4. Okay. So H4, all right, like so. And that does not need to be capitalized there. Okay, let's go ahead and save it, and we'll preview it in a browser so you can kind of really see. Okay, so looks like our content's being divided up nicely. We're going to add another list now. So same exact format as what we just did. We're going to add these lists right here, or this list of Triumph motorcycles. So the first thing we want to do is make an unordered list, okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and just close that, and everything goes inside of here like so. And again, we have to then add the li, right, the list tags, and wrap each one of these list items in one of these list item tags. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just copy here and then paste so I can be as fast as I can about this. Okay, and cut and paste the closing tags as well. Now this one here, we don't need to have a list nested inside another list. Okay, so it's just this one here. Nice and easy. All right, and hit enter, and let's see. And there's our list of Triumph models right here. Okay, so let's see what else we have in our content here. Click on Marlon Brando to visit the Triumph timeline. So obviously I want to have an image of Marlon Brando in here. And let's see, I just want this text to be paragraph style text for now, like so. Okay, and what's below that? Oh, the address, or at least some text here that's kind of functioning as an address. And for now, let's just wrap them in a p tag like so. Okay. Okay, and let's go ahead and take a look at that. We'll look at it in Firefox. It's easier to see. There we go. Okay, and you know, this is running on right now, and I want to go ahead and actually have this throw some line breaks in here. Okay, so how we throw in line breaks is everywhere you want a line break to occur, you throw in this BR tag like so. Now you don't actually have to close these, okay? That's going to be read as a break, okay? And that's going to be read as a break. So let's go ahead and look. Can you see that? Yep, no problem. So that's a nice way to set up addresses, or really any kind of line breaks you want. Okay, so let's go ahead and preview this again. So now we have all the content of our web page, and it's divided up in different ways. And this is identified as a H1. Okay, this is identified as an H2. This is identified as paragraphs, lists. Yeah, okay, so unordered lists. So the fact that these have all been divided into different areas of content, and that they can be identified with the tags they've been wrapped in, now we can use CSS to target those specific elements and say, you know, make it this color, spread the words out like this, give it this style of font, make it, you know, Times New Roman or Arial font or whatever. So it's a way to divide and identify content, okay? And so HTML we really use to provide the structure of our websites. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close that now. Now the next thing that I'd like to do is throw in some images.